On Sunday, November 13, 2022, a call was made to 911. The caller wanted help for an unconscious person in the tiny college town of Moscow, Idaho. Calls like that are not unusual in the town of Moscow, but as soon as the dispatchers arrived, they realized they were dealing with something much more sinister than a drunk college student. 4 university students were laying slaughtered in their rooms. Let's go through the course of events and find out if the police are successful in their investigation. Moscow, Idaho is a small college town with over 11,000 students who study and live there. With very little crime, most of the residents live safely and happily. However, this picture-perfect town was soon changed forever on November 13, 2022. Police received a call to a house on King Road. When they arrived, they were welcomed by the distressing sight of the bodies of 4 college students who had been stabbed to death in this sickening quadruple homicide. The coroner put the time of the students' death somewhere between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., and someone had used a fixed-blade knife to butcher Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Zana Konodo, and Ethan Chapin to death. Kaylee, Madison, and Zana were housemates, and Ethan and Zana were dating. Ethan was staying there that night. The 4 were stabbed over and over in the chest, and there were no signs of sexual assault or forced entry. Bethany and Dylan, the 2 other housemates, were left unharmed, and one of them was able to make the frantic phone call to the police. The Idaho 4 were last seen the night before the murders, when they were enjoying some partying, as many college students do. Madison and Kaylee were best friends who worked at a local restaurant as servers, and they were childhood friends. On the night of the murder, these best friends went to the popular pub called Corner Club, where, according to some accounts, they were getting a lot of male attention. The bar closed down at 2 a.m., so Kaylee and Madison left 30 minutes earlier at 1:30 a.m. From there, they went out looking for a late-night snack. After that, they made their second stop at the grub truck that was parked just a block away from the club. Luckily for the 2 girls, the truck was live streaming, so it recorded both Madison and Kaylee approaching the front of the truck. In the video, it could also be seen that a man in a white hoodie was standing behind them. That man had no intention to hurt the 2 ladies, but he tried to make sure that the 2 girls made it home safely. However, Madison and Kaylee didn't seem to want his help, and instead they left him when a dark 4-door sedan pulled up. Kaylee's father said that the driver was safe. Joe, who was there that night, said that the girls quickly ran towards the car when a voice from inside said, "Hurry up." Upon seeing both of the girls leaving, the hooded man stayed behind. Most people initially suspected him to be the murderer, but he wasn't. In fact, police cleared him and the driver because both of the girls reached their homes safely at around 1:56 a.m. This was confirmed thanks to the ring camera from the neighbor's house. In the video, it could be seen clearly that the car pulled up and then went back the other way. Madison and Kaylee went inside. The 2 chatted while munching on their food. In the meantime, Kaylee started calling her ex, Jack, at around 2:26 a.m. Jack didn't respond to any of her calls, so Kaylee kept on calling him. A total of 6 calls were made by Kaylee. After having no such luck, Madison gave it a try. She called Jack from her own phone 3 times, but still there was no response. And so at 2:52 a.m., Kaylee gave Jack one last ring, but just as before, he didn't pick up. It seemed like the girls had something urgent to tell Jack, and when Jack was questioned by the police, he said that he was asleep when Kaylee and Madison were calling him. Jack told the police that there was nothing going on between the 3, and so the police let him go. While both Maddie and Kaylee were talking to each other, Ethan and Zana arrived back to the house from a party. Ethan didn't live there, but that night he decided to stay over with his girlfriend. It was between 3 and 4 a.m. that an intruder crept into each of their rooms that night and butchered the 4 of them. However, the question everyone was asking is why would the killer leave the 2 other roommates untouched and only kill these 4? Was it something personal? The following day, police arrived at the scene and they witnessed a horrific view. They began their investigation by examining each body. They couldn't tell what order they were killed in, but there were some differences in the wounds. Kaylee, among the 4, received the most brutal injuries. The police even noticed defensive wounds, which showed that some of them might have awoken that night and tried to fight off the killer. There were no signs of sexual assault, and by looking at the wounds, it seemed that the murder was done with a knife. This was not confirmed until later, when the police started asking the local businesses if someone had sold someone a fixed-blade knife. Now, one of the strangest details about this awful tragedy is that at the time of the killing, both Dylan and Bethany didn't even hear a sound of what was happening inside the house. and it wasn't until the morning that they discovered the horrors of the night. Not just that, but there was also a dog in the house that did not bark at all that night. Maybe because he knew the killer? Who knows? When the police searched the house, they also found that there was no fourth entry into the house, no signs of a break-in. They made up a picture of the hole where they said that the killer or the killers might have gotten inside through the back patio on the second floor, from where they went to Zana and Ethan's bedroom and attacked them first. After that, they proceeded upstairs to kill Kaylee and Maddie. But who was this mysterious killer? Well, it didn't take long for the police to arrest the suspect. On December 30th, a 28-year-old man named Bryan Kohberger was arrested. Not many details about his arrest have been shared, but we do know that he was arrested in Pennsylvania. Bryan was a student at Washington State University, and he had just completed his first semester as a PhD student studying criminology and criminal justice. His university was only 9 miles from the University of Idaho. Bryan was at his parents' house at the time of his arrest. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder along with felony burglary. He was extradited back to Idaho, where he is being held in jail without bail. Since the arrest was made, some details and even more questions have come up. The police do not know, or have not revealed, whether the suspect knew the victims or what his motive for the killing was. They have yet to find the murder weapon, but they did discover a knife sheath at the scene of the crime. The sheath contained DNA evidence tracing back to Bryan Kohberger. Apparently, after the murders occurred, Bryan Kohberger drove his white Hyundai Elantra from Idaho back to Pennsylvania. We now know that police were on him while he was driving east. In fact, they even announced their search for a white Hyundai Elantra after it was caught on a nearby security camera. Furthermore, the police obtained Bryan's cell phone records and discovered that his phone had pinged the cell tower closest to the murder house several times, at least 12 times prior to the murder. It is only during the few hours of the murder that his phone drops all contact, leading us to believe he turned his phone off while he was committing the crimes. We have also learned that one of the survivors says that she heard crying that night, followed by a loud thud. She opened her door and saw a figure dressed in all black with bushy eyebrows, headed down the hallway towards her room, then passed right by her room and left through the back sliding door. Oddly enough, the cops were not called until almost noon that day. We have since learned that the suspect previously dined at the restaurant where 2 of the victims worked, and he may have even tried to contact one of them on Instagram, sending messages of, "Hey, how are you?" that never were returned. Some even believed he was stalking the victims for months prior to the murders. There are also reports that a single dog hair, possibly belonging to the dog of the victims, was found in Bryan's home. It is believed that Bryan will receive a life sentence for the crimes he has committed. But this is not final. Even at the time of making this video, Bryan Kohberger sits in an Idaho jail waiting for his trial to begin this summer. Thank you for watching True Crime Prime. Kindly subscribe to our channel and remember to like, share, and comment.